Welcome to the third Anime Studio tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be talking about rotational motion and introducing the idea of bones. So let's get started. So here you'll see my animation, and I have already created the face of my clock. So I've drawn out the clock, I've put it on a layer, and so now we're going to make a new layer, and in this layer we're going to draw a big hand. And again, I have drawn a big hand and I've called it big hand. So there it is. So the big hand of the clock. I'm going to also copy and paste this into another layer, and I'm going to call this the small hand, and I'll paste the clock hand in there, and then we will shrink it down and change the color of it. So one's going to be the hour hand, obviously the other one's going to be the minute hand. So let's just shrink this down, and I'm going to rotate it as well as change its color and make it a little smaller. So I now have the green hand, and one more time I'll just rotate it. So we'll start off at 3 o'clock. Kind of critical here when we do this to make sure that the end of the clock is actually in the center of our clock face. And so there's our two hands. Wow, that is awesome. Now the next thing we need to do is actually make a new layer, and this one's going to be a bone layer. And in this case I'm going to call it the big hand, but then I have to drag up my drawing and put it underneath. So the bone layer is the parent, the hand, the part that we've drawn, is the child, and you'll notice it's kind of indented. So then here's the add bone button. Make sure that I'm on the bone. I'm going to just turn off that layer. Now we kind of do a weird trick here. We have to put a bone that's not attached to the clock hand first, kind of as the anchor point. So I drag one, and then there's the second bone. So now I have two bones to control that hand. I'm going to select the first one, the anchor bone, and up here at the top it says, do you want to constrain it? And I do. So I want to constrain it by angles. So in this case I want to constrain it so it doesn't move at all. So I'm going to say constrain it from 0 to 0, which means it has 0 amounts of rotation. And we'll just click on the other one and make sure there are no constraints. So I want to be able to spin that around. And now if I use the bone manipulation tool, I can click on it, I can grab it, and now I can spin it 360 degrees. Wow, Mr. Lagarde, that is so exciting. So here we're going to turn on the background, and now we're going to use the timeline here at the bottom to give it its motion. So I'm going to come out, I'll rotate it 1/4 of the way, I'll come out. You'll notice that it's putting in keyframes, and those little circles are keyframes. And there's the other halfway across around the circle, and rotate again. Now sometimes you've got to be careful. You may have to split it up into smaller segments when you rotate if you find that your minute hand jumps, it goes part way around the circle and then jumps back. And we'll do exactly the same thing with the small hand. We'll make a bone layer for it, and then we'll make sure that our drawing is a child of the parent, which is the bone, and then we're going to add the bone to that the same way. So we're going to add two bones, one that we're going to constrain and one that's actually going to move our hour hand. And again, we'll click on it, go to constrain. This constrain is a very powerful tool. Put in 0 and 0, so that piece, that bone is now anchored, and we'll just check and make sure we can move the other one. And it rotates, all right. So we are in good shape here. So this time we're going to go out the full amount and just have it rotate slightly. Okay, next I'm going to make a little layer. I'm going to call it mouse. There's a mouse. It's a great looking mouse. Pink ears, pink nose. Wow, Mr. Lagarde, you truly are an artist. Let's just color those pink. And what we're going to do is have that mouse rotate back and forth across the top of our clock, and I guess really just to make it look interesting. So let's select all of our mouse. Let's change his or her size and put it in a location that we're happy with. We start around the 10 on the dial. And now again, we're going to have to create another bone layer to get its rotation. Call it mouse. Make that layer a parent, our drawing layer a child, and then we're going to add in a bone. And just because it's easier to work with, I'm going to turn off all my other layers and then draw the bone out here. And again, I got to draw two. Okay, just to finish up here, all we're going to do now is make a second set of bones, but this time you're going to constrain one bone, the first one, the small one, to lock it in place at 0, 0, and then the other one you're going to do, minus 35 to 40, but you're going to have to play with that. That's all I'm going to show you. I want you to create a fancy clock. There should be at least 5 different moving parts. Good luck. Have a lot of fun, and can't wait to see your fancy clock. Alarm clock. That'd be a great idea, wouldn't it?